Welcome to Tamika's Story Time. Today I'm going to present to you a story of Sherelda Terry, a 18-year-old beautiful young lady whose soul was so vibrant and bright that it was just appalling that this young lady was done the way that she was done at the hands of Michael Madison. He was a serial killer in the Cleveland, Ohio area in 2013. Um, this young lady, her stepfather called the mother and to inform her when Sherelda did not return home from work. She was working at a summer job at Clark Elementary School in the Cleveland, Ohio area in 2013. And this was very unusual for her. She would come straight home, and if she didn't come straight home, she would let her mother or her father know where she was. So when the stepfather called the mother and told her, she grew very concerned. So she called the father, who didn't live too far, and asked him, had he heard from Sherelda? And he said no. He immediately got in his vehicle and started driving around looking for her. The mother came home and she started looking for this young lady in the community. And because the time the at that time Cleveland, Ohio was in a place of disarray, if you will. The community was not as built as it once was back in the 50s and the 60s when the Rockefeller was there and built all these homes. And in the residential areas they had these big massive homes that was now sitting vacant. They had a whole lot of industrial buildings vacant because Ford pulled out back in the 70s and the Rockefellers back in the 60s. So throughout those years into the 2013, the neighborhood had fallen into ruins, if you will. So a lot of people had fled Cleveland, Ohio, and the ones that stayed and the ones that resided there did so under the patrolling of their own community, if you will. The drug dealers were the ones who patrolled and knew what was going on. So the mother, in search of her daughter, confronted the drug dealers and asked them had they seen her daughter, gave the pictures, they helped put up flyers. They assured her they didn't know, but they were looking for her as well, because they knew that this was a young lady who was very good by all accounts. She didn't go out and party. She wasn't a party girl. She was a very spiritual young lady. She was committed to the Lord. She loved the Lord. To give you a bird's eye view into this little girl, this young lady's spirit, she wanted to spend her birthday in Bible study. So that gives you just a teeny bit of who she was. So they were all foot and hands on deck to help the mother and the father look for this young lady. And when they couldn't come up with nothing, she went to the police, filed the missing person report. They took the report, but again, she was 18 and they were slow to respond, as well as the area that it was. They took very little urgency to send any to do any real search for this young lady. So the mother and the family felt pretty much on their own. They continued to date day after day. They put up flyers. They went driving around, knocking on doors, searching places, couldn't find this young lady. So the mother, a week into her missing, Sherelda Terry's missing, her mother fell to her knees and she prayed to God and she said, God, just bring my baby home. I can accept anything that you give me. Please just let my baby come home. I can accept anything you give me. And with that prayer, the next day, a neighbor called called into the police department and said that they was they was smelling something that was emanating from the garage, um, one of the garage facilities in the area. So the police was like, it could be garbage. He said, no, it's not garbage. I know the smell of garbage. This is something dead. And you need to send somebody out here to come look. So the people were so adamant in this call that the police finally just came out, sent a patrol officer out. And when he approached, there was a couple people standing outside the garage. It was in the summertime. And they standing outside the garage and they're holding their nose and they're putting their shirt over their face because of the odor was so intense. So the officer was thrown back when he approached outside. When he got outside his patrol car, he could smell it. And he seen the flies emanating from the building that and from coming from underneath the garage. So he told the people, stay back. And it was a lock on this garage. So one of the guys that was standing in the crowd, he said, I'm going to call. I know a person that's renting this garage. I'm going to call him and let him know that he can come take this lock off. So when he made the call to the guy, he told him that, look, man, there's something in your garage and the police is getting ready to break that lock to get in there. So, he said, oh, okay. So he was on the phone and the police officers broke the lock off that garage and he left the garage door open. And when he did, the smell just, hit the whole crowd. And they was like, coughing and like trying to not to vomit because of the smell. It was a parked vehicle inside, and beside the parked vehicle, there was a blanket, and it was a hump over underneath this blanket. So the officer, fighting through the tremendous odor, he went to this blanket and he took his flashlight to lift that blanket up, and it was a plastic bag. So it was an industrial plastic bag. It was very thick, as the size of a suitcase. So he's trying to cut through the plastic, and as he's cutting through the plastic, there's more plastic. He's cutting through it with 6 layers of plastic bag, thick plastic bag that he had to cut through. But once he got past that 6th bag, he discovered a decomposing human remain in a fetal position of a black female. So everyone that was standing around was looking. He told him back up, and he backed away, and he called for backup that it was a crime scene and started taping off that area. So the guy that had this guy who was running the garage, he's had him on the phone. He said, look, they done found a body in this garage you're renting. So you need to come out here. And he hung the phone up. Michael Madison was on the other end. He hung the phone up. And the guy was like, hello, hello. So he was surprised that, he hung up. So the police said, is he coming? So he said, I don't know. He hung the phone up. So I guess he's on his way. Let me call him again. So he called again. He got no answer. So by this time, the rest of the police is coming with the coroner and detectives, and they arrive, and they're doing an assessment. So they call the person, Michael Madison phone. They get no answer, and they're waiting. He hasn't arrived. So at this point, they go to his apartment. They get no answer at his apartment. So next place they go is to his mother's address. Well, Michael Madison is there, and they're trying to convince him to come outside to have a conversation with them about this garage he's renting. And he refused to come outside. So at this point, they draw their guns, and they're calling him out on a bullhorn. You have to come outside the home. Come outside. So they take him into custody, and they have him in the interrogation room, and they're asking him, who is this person? in this garage that you're renting. Do you know this person? And he said, no, I don't know who this person is. So they said, oh, okay. So the detectives in them are took the body, examining the area, and as they're interrogating this man on the inside while they're doing the removal of the body on the outside, he says, I guess I'm going to be on CNN. So when he said that, the detective said, well, what do you mean you're going to be on CNN? He said, oh, nothing. So he let that slip. So at this point, they like, oh, this guy is really okay. So they got a search warrant to get in his apartment. So they went into his apartment and they discovered Sherelda's pocketbook in his apartment. So they said to him, I thought you said you didn't know who this was. This is the young lady that's been missing for a week now. And she's dead in the garage that you're renting, and her purse is in your apartment. And you said you didn't know who she was. So he said, oh, I don't know how she got there. And then he finally said to the police, oh, yeah, I found her body in my place. Somebody put her there, but I don't know who. So that wasn't working. So they said, okay, well, you know what? You're under arrest. So they put him in custody. And as they put him in custody, they told the officers to check around that garage. Do an extensive check around that garage, because something tells me that this man has much more to hide than Sherelda Terry's body. So sure enough, at this point, the whole community is out. They are searching around this garage, and they find another plastic bag, the same exact plastic bag that was in that garage. And they alert the detectives to come see this plastic bag behind the garage, the building of that garage. And sure enough, they found another body. And this particular bag this body was very much decomposed, much more decomposed than Sherelda's body. Excuse me. This is my tea. I like to drink. Pardon me. Stay with me. This is my super greens. I put in my tea, whole body cleanse. And I encourage you to take your supplements. And she was missing for a year. Once they took this body in, they found out that this young lady was missing for a year. She had not been in touch with her family because of the lifestyle that she was living. And so this is how this woman fell under the crack. A missing person report had not been put in for this woman due to the lifestyle that she was living. However, she was beaten to death and still had bruising on her body. When they did the autopsy on this woman, they discovered that she was beaten to death. So this woman was behind the building in a trash bag, badly decomposed. Then, as the community there, everybody is searching buildings, all the abandoned houses nearby. They going into the community absolutely came together. They was going into each abandoned building, each abandoned house. They was looking, and they came across another plastic bag. And if it was the same exact plastic bag as the two other bodies was in, and this one was in an abandoned house down the street from that storage unit. So they discovered another female missing woman. This woman was reported missing. She was reported missing 6 weeks before Sherelda. She was reported missing. So this was her body in an abandoned house. And she was Angela Deckens. Angela Deckins was her name, and the other young woman was Shatisha Sheetley, who was badly decomposed, who was missing or had been there for about 12 months before they found her body behind the um, storage. This man, they said, look, we done found two more bodies, female bodies, and they all have your name on it. Or same MO, same plastic bags, and we found DNA at your apartment that links you to Angela Dickens. So at this point, he submits and says, look, I admit I put the bodies there. I put the bodies there. And they said, well, what happened? Tell us what happened. So he said, I always had a problem with women. And from my mother to my kids, to my kids' mother. He had two kids by a woman. And he had a real hatred towards women. And he said, so why did you kill these young ladies? And, young women. They had nothing to do with it. Why? And Sherelda Terry, she was 18 years old. What could she have done? She was innocent. And he didn't have any response other than she met with me. She called me. He met her on Facebook. He knew, and he baited her through Facebook. He knew what type of young lady she was. This was a woman, young lady who was innocent, vulnerable to him because she had never dated before. So when he said, meet me at my apartment when you get off from work, she did just that. And that ultimately caused her to lose her life, unfortunately. And that was the first time that she ventured out, and it cost her life. And the other two women, he said that the Shatisha, which was the one who was missing longest, she had got in his face and called him all kinds of names after they had relations, sexual intercourse, and she wanted to she was trying to steal something from him, and he caught her. And when he caught her, she became belligerent. So he strangled her, beat her down, and strangled her. It got out of control, and unfortunately, she lost her life. That was his explanation for her. And then the other girl, he said, he had relations with her, and then he just strangled her. He had a problem with women. And it started with his mother, the way that she spoke to him. He said this was his confessions to the officer. He didn't like the way women spoke to him. He didn't have a problem with men. Men didn't mistreat him as bad as women did. Women were very derogatory towards him. He pinned everything that he did on the woman, and not taking a responsibility for himself and what he chose to do to these women. So they took him in, had the case, had the trial, and throughout this trial, this man sat there and with a smirk on his face when they gave when the family stood up and gave their testimony of the victims, and the father spoke on Sherelda Terry's behalf to this man, and this man had a smirk on his face which caused this father to lose it. He ran from where he was standing and jumped over the table onto this man, and they grabbed him in enough time that he was not able to make contact with him, and he laughed as they were pulling him out of the courtroom. This was a very sadistic individual. Michael Madison is the man, is the corporate who is the serial killer of Cleveland, Ohio. This man will never be released from jail. He got 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of life, a life sentence, and ultimately the death penalty. So I give this story as a cautionary tale. How this young lady who did no harm to no one, who sought to give good and be good and had a good nature. She wanted to do nothing but to show the love that was given to her. And yet she lost her life so tragically at the first opportunity of connecting with someone she thought was an opportunity of maybe possibly having a relationship with. This man was 25 at the time. She was 18. She was smitten by this man, and she was lured by this man to his home and lost her life just by one decision that she made. That, you know, sad fully for her and her family. She's no longer here. But this is a cautionary tale. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to any child, young woman, young man. You must be careful when you decide to take that step to venture out and meet a person. Let someone know. Do not ever keep a secret. When you're going out to visit anyone, my golden rule is you don't have to tell me what you're doing, but let me know where you're going and who you're going with. That way, I have something to give. This is what you need to embed in your children. This is what you need to embed into your loved ones, convey to your loved ones. It's not about control. It's not about being nosy or being intrusive. It's about being aware and having something to give if something should happen. Nobody wants to be coming up empty-handed when the police knock on the door and say, hey, when was the last time you seen XYZ? Hey, where did they say they were going? The last thing you want to give them is, I don't know. You want to be able to give them, oh, I know that they were going to XYZ with XYZ on XYZ date at XYZ time. Look, I have a recording in my phone through text. So this is something we need to incorporate. We incorporate in our consciousness, because the phones are at our fingertips. We are the first line of detective. We are the first line of defense, if you will, for our loved ones. Do not forget that, because that's very imperative and very important in our daily walk. We have to keep that in mind. Don't be so, I don't want to impose, I don't want to intrude, I'm not going to say or ask that because they're going to be XYZ on the defense. Let them be on the defense. But you tell them, look, it's not about me being in your business. I could care less. But I want something. Before you leave out that door, let me know something. Even my friends, I don't care who they are. They know me, I know them. They know, give Tamika the information. That way I'll have something to give. Because the last thing I want to do is tell a person I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that response. Not at all. I like information. I like results. So I want to give you as much as I can so that you can help resolve the situation, so that you can be resolved, if you will. I have to have something to give. So anyone who lives alone, anyone who doesn't have family, anyone who has family, let someone know that where you're going and who you're meeting with, what time and what place, so that everyone, when it comes down, if it should ever comes down to them looking for you, they will have someone that have the last place and person who you were in contact with. It's just that simple. So keep that in mind. Let that be the cautionary tale from this story. Had the Lord, see, the Lord works in mysterious ways. When that mother dropped down to her knees and prayed, Lord, I don't care what the circumstances is, bring my baby home. That next day, a call was made to the police station of the smell of foul odor coming from a garage. That brought her daughter home. That was nothing but the Lord. You ask, you will receive. For those that don't know no better, pray. God will lead you through your path. If anyone watched any video of mine, I give testimony of just that. How God will speak to you and how he will answer your prayer. Pray, you will be heard. Ask and you shall receive. Do not ever think that, oh, I can't ask the Lord. He won't hear me. Yes, he will hear you. And if you ask, he's going to show up. He's going to show you. The Lord is, he's going to show you. That is how he speaks to all of us. Ask and he's going to show you. Rather it be with your eyes open or with your eyes closed, okay? And that means in a dream or out a dream. He's going to lead you. And I'm going to give another story in my next video to support that. But this also gives validity to that because the mother dropped to her knees and prayed after a week of her daughter missing. And then after she says that prayer, the day after, that's not a coincidence. That's not, a skeptic may think that. A non-believer may think that. You know, you have those, oh, that was just a coincidence that she prayed one day and the daughter was found the next day. Okay, if that's what you want to perceive it as, then by all means do so. I know better. So, and I'm giving you that. And I hope that you know better and grow better, okay, from watching this. If you don't do anything else, I want you to grow from any video you watch of mine. This is why I give these videos. Not just to be telling a story. I want to give you something. I want to give you something for your mind, your body, and your soul, okay? So this is why I share Tea Time and I share the Super Greens by Live Good, Tamika's Healthy Choice at livegood.com. You can get all your supplements. But whatever your supplements may be, I encourage you to take them. This is in my tea. I take this daily for a whole body cleanse so that I can continue to give you these stories and continue to give you something to take with you, to collect here and to meditate and dissolve within. I say, come back to your girl. You won't be disappointed. I pray that this was a blessing to you and that you share this with someone. Give me thumbs up, hit the notification, and please, by all means, subscribe. Peace. I look forward to speaking to you again.